Hey, everyone. Hi. Hello. Welcome to another exciting episode of Alison, Rosen is your new best friend. I will bring my guest in a moment, and I just have to take a moment to thank him for listening to me babble about my own personal problems unprofessionally. And I know you're thinking it's a podcast.
I loved it.
It's a podcast. Everyone babbles about their own stuff. That's the point of a podcast. But I feel like this was even another level beyond that. Before we started, I was just like, here's why I might seem a little off my game. And then I just vomited my own. And then, like, when a person vomits and I'm done. And then just even more came out. And it's not like we have all day. So I would like to thank him for listening to that because, wow. Ugh. Anyway, I'll bring him in a moment. He hasn't arrived yet, even though you just heard his voice.
That was a drop I played.
I'm just kidding. Everyone knows my habit of making the person sit there uncomfortably. No, I'm glad we heard his voice. Alison,
Rosen, Alison's your new best friend.
Bring him in a moment. But first, I must chat with the bad boy of podcasting, Tony Thaxton. Hello, Tony.
Hi, Alison. I feel like, go ahead. You go ahead.
I was just going to say, it is much. Thank you very much. I was going to say, I'm also overly caffeinated. How do you feel about the new title bestowed upon you by our guest, who may or may not be here already?
Yeah, well, the listener doesn't know that he referred to me as I believe it was the most dangerous man in podcasting, I think he said.
I think that is amazing, and I think you should own that.
I think, it's true. I am, you can't see them. They're just off camera, but I'm surrounded by weapons. I have lots of knives around here, and, so it makes sense. It checks out. Yeah.
That's right. That's how you edit, with actual knives.
Uh-huh. Oh, I do. I do actually have a knife right here. I forgot. It started as a joke, and I was like, oh, that's a knife. What
are you doing with a switchblade? Being dangerous?
Well, sorry, now it's kind of a sad answer.
Is it Neil's?
Yeah, it was Neil Mahoney's. So yeah, at his memorial, they had because he really was obsessed with knives and had tons of them for whatever reason. And
he really was an editor.
Yeah. Yeah. And Jonah had a box of Neil's knives, and just kind of people were welcome to take one if we wanted at the memorial. So I took one of them.
Well, it works.
Sorry to bring it down.
That's okay. That's serendipity, because you are dangerous now and you have a knife.
That's right.
What were you going to say to me before I interrupted you?
Oh, I was going to say that I feel like I have a slight bone to pick with you now, because I feel like anytime we have guests on the show and then you find out later that this guest now had started talking to me off show.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
I feel like now the tables have turned. I think if it wasn't obvious from the episode, if people heard it, I think maybe Alison and I both kind of want to be best friends with RJ City now.
Okay, let me back up, because I feel like you might have glossed over that. So I'm leaning into this hard. I am owning the fact, just like you're owning being dangerous, I'm owning the fact that I'm really a petty person. I'm just a petty person. And when it's come to my attention that a lot of people take a liking to Tony, and then they have their they'll come on the show or they'll listen to the show there, and then they'll strike up conversations with Tony, which is okay. But then I'm like, what is going on?
They're drawn to the danger.
Do I feel like I own him? It's weird. Maybe I do. I don't know. But I'm always surprised, or as came up on a recent show, bumped. And then it bumped me.
Should I be offended by that?
No, I don't mean surprised that they want to talk to you. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know that I did I want them to ask my permission? I don't know. I just feel like, how did I get cut out of this? I don't know. Just behind my back talking to Tony? What's happening?
I mean, I can't control these people.
I know. They're out of control, Tony. Anyway.
Yeah. So
you, because it's Tony's picks on the Thursday show, booked wrestler RJ City, which has kicked off. Look, it's WrestleMania, Alison. I only tweet about wrestling now. I'm all about wrestling, I think. And I want to have him on a Monday show.
Yeah.
So, and you and I talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought to myself, I could say to Tony, well, I even said to you something about, I wonder if you want to come on a Monday show.
Yeah.
Now, you did not pick up the ball and say, look, petty person making it your fault. You didn't say, oh, let me ask him.
Well,
I know. I didn't ask you
I think at that point we hadn't even recorded the first episode yet. You had just watched some of his show and immediately were a fan.
No, we had recorded the first episode.
Oh, had we? Okay.
Yeah, it was right
All
after.
right.
Not important. Anyway.
I think you're wrong. I'm going to have to check the text, and we'll let the listeners know on the Thursday
I
show.
invite you to check the text.
All right. I'm ready.
I invite you. Formal invitation issued. It was a paperless post. It's a step up from Evite, I believe. And guest list suppressed. Anyway, so I thought, or I could just DM RJ. But is Tony is that okay with Tony? And I really thought that. And I don't know if that makes it better or worse. But then I just DM'd him. And like, does he live on Twitter like I do?
I know, it does seem like he does, because he's always a very fast responder.
Before I hit send, he had already responded. So anyway, I guess you have a bone to pick with me now about this?
I just felt like I needed to call you out on it, because you always raise such a fuss about when people contact me. So I just wanted to do the same to you. I don't care. He's a delightful dude. So
that raising a fuss, that doesn't sound like me at all. Hey, my friends are your friends.
Yeah. See, I can share.
He is a delightful dude. He's apparently going to potentially hook us up with more wrestlers. I'm telling you, Tony, it's surprising to everyone, but I am making the pivot to wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was a slightly weird choice. I was like, I know you had Alexa Bliss on in the past, but I was like, yeah, I know, for wrestling, kind of a weird guest for the show. But knowing enough about him and knowing him a little bit, I was like, I feel like he's going to be a great fit for the show. And little did I know, you're madly crazy about him.
I'm nuts for wrestling.
Yes.
I think I also a little bit, I didn't bring this up because I feel like it's so touchy, but I think I ran afoul of the WWE a tiny bit on the Alexa Bliss interview, because a guest asked a question about the potential exploitativeness of the WWE and like the wrestlers' health and stuff. And she gave a very diplomatic answer, but it still got a lot of press in like wrestling publications and things. And I was like, I can't imagine they're happy. Yes, happy about this. And then I wanted to get Mike the Miz on, and they would never return my emails. You know what? Yeah. So I'm like, I am persona non grata to them.
Yeah. That's a different.
If I want to be queen of wrestling podcast, do we have to cut that out, or do you think that's okay now that I'm making the pivot to AEW?
Yeah, I think just stick to AEW. Okay. That's the better thing. But also, hey, we have a guest.
I know. You know me. Once I start talking about wrestling, it's all I think about. I am so excited to welcome back to the show 3-time champion. That's a wrestling term. This is his 3rd time returning to the show. He is a journalist. He is I was going to say novelist, but they're not novels, but they're novel-length books. He is editor-at-large for Esquire, unless it's GQ. It's Esquire, right? Do a nod if it's Esquire. Yes, it's Esquire. And his new book, but he's written so many books, but we're going to get into all the different books, so I'm not going to name them right now. His new book is The Puzzler, one man's quest to solve the most baffling puzzles ever, from crosswords to jigsaws to the meaning of life. Please put your hands together for AJ JACOBS.
Hello, thank you.
Hello. Hello. Welcome back to the show, AJ.
Thank you for having me. And listen, if you want, I will not talk to Tony. I will not even acknowledge he exists, if that would make you feel better.
Oh my God. That's such a gift. Thank you. No, you are free to talk to Tony. See, this is what I like. Someone passing it by me. I give you carte blanche to talk to Tony. I don't know what you're going to get out of it, but go for it.
All right. Thanks. All right. I feel like I'm liberated. Thanks. All right, Tony. After the show.
That's right.
Talk to you.
Yep.
We'll do
All over
some FaceTiming.
We'll talk about wrestling, Alison.
Oh my God. Right under my nose. So AJ, okay. So I believe I last had you on in either 2017 or 2018, as discussed between you and me during my pre-show vomiting of me being off my game because of all sorts of things happening. I feel I did not give you the best introduction. You have written a number of books. You are what I would call, now see, I think we went through this last time perhaps, either like an immersion journalist or a stunt journalist. You choose a topic and you immerse yourself in a world. You give yourself a challenge for a long stretch of time, and then you write a book about it. And it's like kind of my favorite type of journalism, whether it's just an article about it or a book about it. I love it. I love it. It's so fun to read. It's fascinating. So you immerse yourself in the world of puzzles before the pandemic started even. And I was thinking like, what a boon that all the Wordle stuff happened probably after you started this project. Yes.
Oh, not only did it happen. Yeah, I started the project before the pandemic because I've always loved puzzles. And then the pandemic came and like jigsaws were like Ellen DeGeneres is doing them and, you can't find them. They're like hand sanitizer. They're like, oh my God, it's a huge thing. And then towards the end, I actually closed the book. We had like finished the book and then Wordle came and I begged my editor, like, we got to reopen it. And so she let us reopen it and I inserted the word Wordle. So literally that's our coverage of Wordle is that there is the word Wordle in there. Okay. So it says like at night I do the New York Times crossword and Wordle. So now if people say, you know, oh, it's about puzzles like Wordle. Oh yeah, Wordle's in there. Wordle's in there. So
well, it's so comprehensive.
But it's got every other puzzle.
So okay. So what I want you to do, this is a puzzle of sorts. You've written so many books. Let's just go through them a little bit. Year of Living Biblically, where you tried for a year to live your life by the principles put forth in the Bible.
Exactly.
Which meant
all of them.
One of them meaning you could not have contact with you could not touch a menstruating woman. So your wife,
you remember that.
She was angry. She sat on all the chairs in the house so you couldn't sit anywhere.
Excellent memory. Yeah. She was menstruating. And yeah, if you take the Bible really literally, you cannot sit on a seat where a menstruating woman was sat because it's impure. So she's like, all right, fuck that. And she sat in every seat in our apartment. And I will say this one thing, people focus a lot on the menstruation, but the Bible also has a rule that men are impure for a day after they ejaculate, which is not paid attention to in modern days at all. But I was doing it literally, so I would have to, you know, if a guy wanted to shake my hand, I would have to say, I'd be interested, but can you tell me, have you ejaculated in the last 24 hours? And then often they wouldn't answer. I don't know. It was, it seems like some information that I guess people are not willing to share. Yeah. But anyway, I just wanted to make that clear that it wasn't just menstruation. Right. It was also ejaculation.
Right. Well, I like that. What a progressive tome the Bible is, really, when you think about it.
There you go. Exactly.
And then you did the Know-It-All, where you tried to read the entire Encyclopedia Britannica.
Right. Not just tried.
You did.
I finished.
You finished.
I got up to the Zywiec. That's the last word. Zywiec. Zywiec. A city in Poland. Where actually very close to where my ancestors came from. So, you know, it all tied together.
What level of retention do you feel like there is?
I would say 0.0001%, somewhere around
That's
there.
That's still a lot, though.
Thank you for saying so. I know people are always like, oh, so it was wasted time. No, there's still, you know, there was so much shit in there that even a tiny percentage. I mean, The downside is a lot of what I remember is stuff I wish I didn't remember, like that opossums have 13 nipples, or Rene Descartes had a fetish for cross-eyed women. So that stuff is in there. I will say the one thing that does stay with me, that does make my life better, it really has value, is I read about all of human history, and it became clear to me that life sucked. I mean, life can suck now, and it certainly does in many ways, but the good old days were not good. The good old days were just horrible. They were sexist, racist, dangerous. You know, half of women died in childbirth. There was shit everywhere. It was smelly. It sucked. Yeah, the King of England, King Henry VIII, had an open sore on his leg that was so smelly, like people would gag. This is the King of England. Like, so if he has that,
right?
Like, imagine. So yeah, so that's whenever I hear people say like, make America great again, or have nostalgia for some distant, wonderful past. I'm like, no, we got a lot of problems now, but do not go back.
Right.
Because things were not good. And that is a very actually uplifting message that I took away.
Yeah, at least our sores smell clean.
Speak for yourself.
Wait, I was just going to, oh no, I had a question.
I'm here. I'm not doing anything.
It was right there. What was it? Tony, what was it?
Probably,
I know what it was.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
You got it.
The odd nipple on the possum, where is it?
It's in a circular pattern. So it's like 13 in a nice circle.
Oh my gosh.
So,
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, So maybe I am happy that I remember that. I shouldn't be so negative.
Did you watch Westworld?
I watched the first season.
So
Did they have
that
circular nipples?
No, it's not a nipple thing, but I'm thinking like that pattern that they kept finding, that circular maze thing that was supposed to indicate, I don't know if you remember it.
I don't remember.
Okay, there was this circular tracing maze thing that I think was supposed to somehow indicate the bicameral mind, but they kept finding it. The hosts were finding it in various places. That's what I'm picturing when I picture, you know what? I can Google this and I don't know what I'll find, but I'll find these circular nipples. The 13 are in a circular pattern is what you're saying, right?
That's my understanding. I've never seen him in person, and I actually haven't Googled it, but listen, after the show, you and I will both Google it and compare.
Because I was thinking it was sort of like, a normal. Right. Listen to me putting judgment in there, like a dog's belly where there's on each side, and then there's just
rows.
a 13th somewhere. Yeah, rows, but the odd one out. But no, that's not how it is, I guess.
That's right. You are very narrow-minded in your nipple orientation.
I've always said that about her.
That's what they say. I get so many reviews of my podcast that just harp on that. So this is where this has all been headed. Instead of me recapitulating your books, which is really just me trying to impress you with my knowledge of your books, could you please, and maybe you've already done this, I want you to rank them in some kind of order, but I haven't decided. Do I want you to rank them in the order of, for you personally, most pleasurable experience to least pleasurable, or most difficult to least difficult, or just your favorite to least favorite? You can choose whichever of those appeals to you.
I like that. Okay. Well, let's do the pleasant versus unpleasant.
Okay.
I like that.
The experience.
Right. We already talked about the Bible. It was probably the hardest.
Okay.
I had the menstruation stuff. I had the beard. I will say there are positives to everything. So, the serious side of that one was trying to be a better person, like don't lie, don't covet, don't gossip. Also very difficult. But in the end, maybe overall a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Then you had another one that was hard was when I tried to be the healthiest person alive.
And that was Drop Dead Healthy.
So that was drop dead healthy. So I had, I changed my diet, I changed my exercise and my sleep and the way I went to the bathroom. Cause this was actually right before the whole, what's that called?
Squatty potty.
Squatty potty. So I was sort of on the cutting edge of that. And I went farther because there are ones that make the squatty potty look kind of lame. Like it's a contraption you can put over your toilet.
Oh, right.
Like
to make it like a hole in the ground.
Right. Make it like, sort of a developing nation type toilet. And so I did that, which my wife did not like. So that didn't last that long. So that was very challenging. Again, there were good parts. One of the good takeaways from that was that it's not healthy to be overly obsessed with your health. Like if you are so obsessed with having just the right meal and that you can't go out with your friends and have a drink, having a close-knit group of friends or colleagues or family, that is just as important as going to the gym 3 times a week or whatever. So anyway, that made me feel good. Like, don't obsess over being too healthy. I did one that was, the one right before this was called Thanks 1,000, where I went around the world and tried to thank everyone who had even the smallest role in making my morning cup of coffee. So I thanked the barista in my New York coffee shop, and I went to South America and I thanked the farmer who grew the coffee beans. But there are tons of people, literally thousands of people in between. The guy who drove the truck that carried the coffee beans, the guy who made the road, or woman, I shouldn't say guy, the people who made the road so that the truck could carry the coffee beans, the people who painted the yellow lines in the road so that it didn't get in an accident. So it was, I took it as far as I could. And that was actually, it could be very awkward because you call people and say, hi, I just want to thank you for, making the insecticide that kept the bugs out of my coffee beans. And a lot of times they would be like, is this a pyramid scheme? What are you trying to do? But most of the time they were actually very delighted to be thanked because I think people are underthanked. And then I felt good and they felt good and it was a nice circle. And that really was good for my mental health. I kind of undertook that because, I am very good at focusing on the 3 or 4 things that go wrong every day. I've got a very good, strong negative bias. And this was very good at teaching me how to balance that by recognizing the hundreds of things that do go right every day. So overall,
gratitude.
Awkward, but overall a good thing. And then this one, I would say the puzzle book was the most fun I've ever had researching because I do love puzzles. I'm a puzzle nerd. And so getting to meet these fellow nerds was a delight. It was painful too because some of these puzzles are incredibly sadistic. Like they want you to cry. But overall, it was a delight. The writing is always, for me, a really unpleasant. I was listening to Mike Sachs on your show, who said he actually enjoys sitting alone and typing. And I was like, man, I wish that I were like that. I just find like the worst. Do you? What do you? Yeah, because you're a journalist, former.
Yeah. No, it's always been a struggle. It's always been a struggle for me. And then I always hit a point where I'm like, I feel like I'm maybe it's that flow state that you hear about. I sort of turn a corner where I feel exhilarated, or where I would have in the past where I felt exhilarated. I don't do it enough lately to really be able to speak to sort of regularly how I feel. But so no, it was always challenging, and I always had resistance to it. And then I recently started a newsletter. And I was really enjoying doing that. And I was like, oh my God, I really missed regularly writing, and I really should have been doing it. I felt feeling sad, not really sad, but like a little bit of of lament for all the years that I could have been regularly writing, because I was writing a little bit every day, and it sort of reminded me of when I started my blog. But then I lost a little bit of momentum on that, although I'm going to get it back. But that actually was bringing me a lot of joy. But that's different than something like a book, in that really is almost like writing an email or something. I mean, it's so really, there's really not much structure to it. So I can really just have fun with it and be silly. You know, I don't have to like hit certain points or anything.
And it's also, it's like your side hustle. Like, it's not your main thing.
Right.
Podcast. So that's nice. Like, I was like, this book was, 80% of my job.
Yes.
So, but what am I complaining? I sound like a whiner, because I get to write for a living and meet all these crazy, interesting people. So forget I said that. You can think
people, that. I mean, he can if you want, but I think people appreciate the reality.
That's fine.
Yeah, I think people appreciate a behind the scenes snapshot, especially someone who
misery.
Someone who makes writing look effortless. I think it's nice to know the reality that it can be hard sometimes.
Oh yeah, definitely not effortless. That is, but that's nice. That's nice. I hope it does read effort. I hope it's effortless to read,
so
not to write.
Your past books were always one man's humbling quest, but this one is just one man's quest. So no humbling here.
No.
What happened?
I am not humble anymore. I'm cocky. I'm cocky and confident. I don't know. I felt the humble was there. I did it in my first book, just to try to stress that I was kidding, because the subtitle was, it was called The Know-It-All. This is the one where I read the encyclopedia.
Right.
It was called The Know-It-All, One Man's Humble Quest to Become the Smartest Person in the World. So I was trying to telegraph, I don't really think I'm going to be the smartest man in the world. But I felt that I had gotten that point across. But I still love the idea of like being the most humble person in the world. Like, I am the humblest. And in fact, did you ever see Pop Star?
I was
Did
just
you ever
thinking
see
the
that
same
movie
thing.
with Andy Samberg?
It's amazing.
He has
that movie's
a
so
hilarious
underrated.
song. Yes, Alison, please
I'll see it.
It is the song, and one of the songs is about how he's like the king of humility. He's like the LeBron James of humility. He's the best, most humble person ever to live, and it's just brilliant.
Yeah, it's
all right.
funny.
I'll see it. So what did you discover then about the relationship between puzzles and the meaning of life?
Well, I do think, yes, because the subtitle is a little over the top. I say it's, I try to solve the most baffling puzzles, from the crosswords to jigsaws to the meaning of life. So I did. I don't know if I solved the meaning of life, but I grappled with it. I wrestled. And for me, one of the big themes of the book is curiosity. Mm-hmm. I love curiosity. Curiosity and gratitude. Those are my two favorite emotions. And I once interviewed for Esquire magazine, not GQ, Alex Trebek, the late great Jeopardy.
Yeah.
Did you ever meet Alex?
Mm-mm.
I feel like you would have met him. No? Well, he had a great quote that I always think about, because it doesn't really make sense. But when I interviewed him, he said, but it's great. He said, I'm curious about everything, even those things that don't interest me. Like, he's curious about boring things.
Right.
And I was like, I love that. And I feel the same way. I'm curious about everything. So to me, curiosity really is the meaning of life. So it's almost, it sounds a little pat, but the search for the meaning of life, the search for what is important in the world, that to me gives my life meaning. So there you go. Solved.
You did it.
Thanks.
Now, you mentioned sadistic puzzles. What's an example of a sadistic puzzle?
Oh, yeah, there are tons of them. I mean, the key to me about puzzles is you want a good puzzle, like, gives you a little bit of good type of frustration, like a good type of headache, not like a painful headache. And then you have that aha moment. So it's sort of like the revelation. And that is a good experience. Yeah. And I think it's the same, like in a movie, you've got the conflict and resolution. So puzzles are the same idea. But some of these puzzles that I grappled with, just to give you one example, I went to the CIA, the headquarters of the CIA in Virginia. It took me months to get permission. I finally because there is one of the great unsolved puzzles in the world is right there on the grounds. And it's this sculpture about 30 years old. And it's a huge metal wall. And into the wall are carved a bunch of symbols, letters, and they're a code. They're a secret code. And the sculptor did it with a cryptographer, and everyone thought it would be solved, in 2 days. It's at the CIA. That's their job. But no, it's been 30 years and no one has fully solved it. They've solved parts of it, and one part, it seems like as like directions to a treasure. So there might be a treasure somewhere on the CIA grounds. It's all very unclear, but part of it is unsolved. And these people, I'm on an online community of thousands of people who every day are sending in their theories. Like, oh, I think it's Dante's Inferno. Or it's related to the NATO alphabet. Every day there are dozens of these theories, and it's hilarious. And the guy who created it is just loving that all these people are spending years of their lives, decades of their lives devoted to this. And he's a brilliant businessman, because you can email him your guess. You say, I think it's, that, Fidel Castro is king, or whatever you want to guess. And he will answer, but you have to pay him $50. So, and all he does is say, nope, that's not it. Like, he's the most highly paid writer in America. Yeah. So I'm totally jealous. If
someone gets it, has anyone ever gotten it?
Well, they've gotten parts of it, but no one's ever gotten the final one. No. So he's never had to, he's always just says no. And what I like about this, it's kind of a crazy waste of human energy in one sense. But in the other, what I like about it is just the grit, like the tenacity of these people is inspiring to me. Because I am very good at, like, I'll look at a problem. I'll try to help my kids with their math homework. And after like 90 seconds, I'm like, nah, I'm out. I think I give up. And so I try to remember, these people have been doing the same thing for 30 years. So maybe I can have a little more tenacity and grit and hang in there a little longer. So they're kind of inspiring as well as crazy.
I really liked the detail in your book that you were a clue or an answer in the crossword puzzle in the New York Times.
Right.
But initially it was the Tuesday edition.
No, wait, I'll tell you.
Okay.
Let me, what happened was, I'd love puzzles from when I was a kid. And then like 7 years ago, I was a clue, like you say, the answer to a clue in the Times crossword puzzle. It was author AJ blank. And the answer was JACOBS. Right. So I'm like, this is the greatest moment of my life.
Yeah. Done. You've made it.
Yeah. That's it. I thought, okay, I can retire now. The birth of my kids, that's pretty good. This is the holy grail.
That was the whole thing, just author AJ blank?
It actually said, it was very flattering. It said best-selling author AJ blank.
Nice.
So, I'm riding high, but then my brother-in-law emails me, and he did congratulate me. I gotta give him props for that. But he also pointed out, he made a point of saying, this is the Saturday puzzle.
I had it wrong.
Right. So the Saturday puzzle is the hardest puzzle of the week. The New York Times starts on Monday, is kind of easy. And then the Saturday, all the answers are totally obscure and no one's supposed to know them. So his point was, this is not a compliment. This is proof that you're obscure and irrelevant. Like, you shouldn't be celebrating this. So then I'm like, oh God, he's kind of right. And so then I get depressed. But the twist is that you foreshadowed was that
it was like a trailer for your story. You're welcome. In a world where H.A. Jacobs is a clue.
It's true. Thank you, Alison.
You're welcome.
So I told that story on a podcast, not this one.
I guess you do other podcasts.
Much less interesting one. It was a boring one. It's very boring. And it happened that a New York Times crossword maker was listening to the podcast, and he said, I'm going to do this guy a solid. I'm going to put him in a Tuesday crossword where I don't belong. It's not Monday, but Tuesday is still like, that's serious people. That's like Lady Gaga and like people who you're actually supposed to know. And so I was in there. He said he had to do the other crossing clues like super easy, like, like feline that begins with C and is 3 letters, that kind of. So, but I'm in there. I was in there, and that was, sort of the highlight. And that was the anecdote that I begin the book with. And then I said, because I'd always loved puzzles, but once I was in the Saturday, I became obsessed with doing them to see, like, maybe I'll appear, maybe I can work my way up. And when I did, it was just a joy.
Right. Then it's personal. I'm weirdly, I'm not, people always think that I would be into Scrabble because I'm very into words. I'm not that into Scrabble. I'm like semi into puzzles. I really like brain teasers and riddles and things like that, but I'm not that into all the other puzzles, which I deep down feel like is probably a sign of some sort of lack of some kind of intelligence in me or something.
No.
Really?
No, that's crazy talk. That's
really,
well,
I feel like every highly intelligent person loves stuff like this.
No. Well, first of all,
thank you, but
first of all, puzzles are such a big topic. I mean, I see puzzles as anything where it inspires curiosity and you try to figure something out. So, a thriller movie is a puzzle, a mystery, Russian Doll. I was just watching that. That's a fun puzzle.
Were you watching the first or second season?
I watched the second and the first.
I need to watch the second. I haven't started it yet.
Yeah, same.
Can I say one thing about my one critique of it is it seems like a very weird thing that she wouldn't just say, I had a Groundhog Day experience, and everyone be like, oh, like instead she says, and then I woke up the next day and I couldn't, it was the same day.
Right.
Like,
there's shorthand for it. Yeah.
Does their universe not have Groundhog Day? Does the Russian Doll universe not have Groundhog Day?
It's a good question.
It's very important. But anyway, so I think you do like puzzles. It's just figuring out which kind of puzzle. But you say you like brain teasers and riddles.
Right.
So can you give me more specifics on what you mean by that?
I mean, the ones that I always liked, and I'm always like searching for more like this. And I know you have a chapter on on brain teasers and riddles and things in your book, are like, I mean, this is like a dumb example, but those ones that as a kid I would hear, which is like, there's broken glass, water, and a dead body. What happened?
Yes. I'm a fan of the lateral thinking is what some people call them.
Yeah.
I am a big fan of the lateral thinking.
Right.
And
or like 52 bicycles. I forget the rest. Do you know that one? Yeah.
I do.
I forget the rest of that one, but
I got the idea. Mm-hmm. Do we want to tell the people or just there are 52 bicycles on the floor or something?
Right.
What happened?
And it's like someone dropped a deck of cards. Yeah.
There it is. Wait, can I give you, because I do have a chapter on riddles, which I do feel are kind of the dorkier cousin of jokes. Like even the Riddler and the Batman, like he's not getting an Oscar, he's not. But I do. There are some of the oldest versions of puzzles. And actually one of the oldest known riddle is a Babylonian riddle. Do you want to hear it?
Yes.
And maybe you read it. It was, what gets fat without eating and pregnant without having sex?
Okay, I didn't read this one. The riddle of the Sphinx I know, but I didn't read this one.
Well, this one, I just want to manage your expectations.
Okay.
Like it might have been funny in like Babylonian times,
right?
in Babylonian. The language maybe had some inflections that were funny. It's not a hilarious answer.
All right. Fat without eating and pregnant without sex. Fat
Right.
without eating. And Tony, you can weigh in too if you.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty stumped.
I'm just going to throw it out because
Please
no one
do.
ever,
Yeah.
unless you're Babylon. It's a rain cloud. A rain cloud gets big. You laughed. I like that you laughed.
I have a very, very young sense of humor. It's so stupid. I laugh at parts too. So, that's very stupid. But I enjoy dumbness. Yeah. Okay. Hit us with another one.
All right. But this one, what I actually liked is that what I loved about this book is going into these subcultures and just discovering people obsessed with all different. So the book is partly about that, like going on these adventures. Like I went to the Jigsaw Puzzle World Championships.
Wait, you took your family as your teammates.
I did. Should I tell that or should I tell you the dirty medieval riddle?
Which would you rather? Oh, which would you?
Well, let me finish. Let me finish the dirty medieval riddle because we're on riddles and then it'll be more organized. And then we'll go to Jigsaw. But yeah, so I found all these, and there's an entire academic discipline called riddle studies with like professors and journals and conferences where they analyze these riddles. So this one is from the 11th century. It's a British riddle and it was in Old English. So this is sort of an updated wording, but this is the riddle. You ready? Mm-hmm. And by the way, keep in mind, this was written by monks. These were monks writing this. Okay, who am I? My stem is erect. I stand up in bed. I'm hairy down below. An attractive peasant's daughter grips me and attacks me in my redness, plunders my head. She feels my encounter directly. Her eye becomes wet.
I read this excerpt.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yes. So I know, but I was just like,
what about Tony?
I couldn't believe it.
I'm clueless again.
You don't know?
No.
All right. Well, that's good because it's not a penis. If anyone out there is thinking it's a penis, then they are, I don't know what to
mind.
say. Dirty mind. It is an onion. So it's like, it's got the hair is sort of like the strings on the bottom of the onion. It's in an onion bed and then you cut it and your eye is wet. So, but I just love that these monks were making like ejaculation jokes, and they were trying to screw with people's minds.
Yeah.
By saying like, oh, it's your fault that you thought it was that and it's not our fault.
Whoever wrote that had to have been like, you guys, check this out. It totally works. It sounds just like a penis, but it's an onion. I mean, they must have been so proud of themselves.
I know. And this was literally more than 1,000 years ago. So a dick joke from 1,000 years ago.
I love it.
That's what you get with this book. All right. So then, yes, one of my favorite adventures was jigsaws. Now, what's your take on jigsaws, Alison? I'm interested.
Have never loved them. Now look, part of this is, I'm not proud. I'm not a very organized, neat, tidy person. So I don't always have vast horizontal surfaces where it's easy for me to like hunker down with my 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. So part of it is just it's a practical thing that like, where am I going to do this puzzle? Everything has piles of stuff on it. But I've just never been, somehow I'm always surrounded by people who love puzzles. I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, it's the beginning of the pandemic for everyone. I feel like old groups of people decided we should all get together in Zoom. And so my old mommy and me group were like, let's get together in Zoom. And then people would be doing puzzles while we Zoomed. Not I.
And you would judge them. Yes.
A little bit. I decided I'm going to remember this and mention it on a podcast in 2.5 years. But then I did start getting into puzzles a little bit. And so we actually in a cabinet have like 6 undone puzzles because that was a short-lived phase. I got into it a little bit, not like everyone else. I wish I loved them like everyone else. I just find it to be tedious and monotonous. frustrating.
Yeah, no shame. No, I actually start that chapter by saying it was always my least favorite type of puzzle.
Yeah.
Because I thought, like you, a little monotonous, a little like dumb, and like I called it the Larry the Cable Guy version of puzzles, like, just very broad.
Yeah.
But I want to retract that. I want to just say I am a convert. Like, I feel that I was dismissive and snobby, and I apologize to the jigsaw community. Because for two reasons. First, there are some jigsaws that are just so crazy, challenging, and witty. Like, I did some puzzles that like made me laugh out loud. Yeah, it was weird because they would have these pieces that were so surprising. Like, it's not your average jigsaw. It's these like fancy wood carved jigsaws by artistes, but they would have pieces that you thought were borders, but they weren't borders, and I would laugh. Maybe my sense of humor had been. It was the middle of the pandemic. So I was like desperate for anything, but it made me laugh. But in addition to that, like seeing truly talented jigsaw puzzlers assemble a puzzle was really something to watch. And I saw that because when I was researching it, I noticed there's a World Jigsaw Puzzle Championship, and it was coming up, and there were all these countries signed up. There was Japan and New Zealand and India, but no USA. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll fill in the application, and I'm sure I'll be screened out. I fill it in. The next day, they're like, okay, you're Team USA. Come show up here in this small town in Spain in 2 months. So I recruited my family, my wife and 2 sons, and they said they would do it as long as they didn't have to wear a uniform. And I was like, no uniform. I made them wear a uniform, which is eventually they had a T-shirt with like an American flag jigsaw puzzle. They hated it, but it was crazy because we went there and there were like 100 teams and from 50 countries, and they all had like their jigsaw tattoos and jigsaw skirts, and they had equipment. We were totally outmatched because they had like razors to cut the plastic and they had trays. So we were just trounced. We totally embarrassed the United States and came in literally second to last. We did beat one team.
Who was worse than America?
Well, we beat one of the hometown Spanish teams. So that felt good. But yeah, we were second to last, and who won, unfortunately, was the Russian team. The 4 women from Siberia. Probably doping was that was our, like Adderall is our guess. But actually, I will say, I want to take that back because they were very nice, these women. And I wrote in the book, long before the Ukraine war, I said, I hate Vladimir Putin. He's like a homophobic, election meddling asshole, and I hate him. But these women, seeing them in person and being able to interact, I call it jigsaw diplomacy. Like ping pong diplomacy was this thing back in I think it was the 70s when we played ping pong in China. And I felt it was the same thing, like being able to humanize and see people on a face-to-face level was actually quite touching. So anyway, that was my jigsaw experience, and I loved it. I'm not obsessed with jigsaws like I am with crosswords, but I respect them.
Have you done it? Oh, sorry. I just wanted to ask one thing. Have you done one of them that there is just one solid color?
Oh yes, the one side, and that is. There was a big trend of those in the 60s. There was one company that made them all, and they would be like Little Red Riding Hood's cape, and it would be all red. Like that was their shtick. So I have done those.
They seem like
the
they would
saddest.
Take forever. I haven't actually done them. I just know they exist.
Well, I will tell you, they taught me, these high-level people taught you have to do it by shape. So they would have these rows of 3 outies and 1 innie. That's one row. 2 outies and 2 innies. They're very smart. Can I just tell you one other jigsaw because it was so heartbreaking? is I interviewed this guy. He's a German divorcee is the way they describe him in the newspaper, which seems a little condescending. But anyway, he was.
Hey, it didn't work out for him. That should mark him for the rest of his life.
Right. That's not his like identity. But anyway, he was very nice, and he spent the entire pandemic. He bought the world's largest jigsaw puzzle that had never been solved. 54,000 pieces of like 100 great works of art. And he spent the entire pandemic doing it. He got up to the 53,999th piece, and he's looking, he can't find the final piece. So it's like it's just a hole right in the middle of, I don't know, Leonardo da Vinci's painting. And it's just like, I get stressed if it's like, 100-piece puzzle with a missing piece.
Right.
Like he spent, so he said, I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. Like he was searching this vacuum cleaner bag. He finally did get the company to send him one. But I thought that was no, it's not.
First he lost his wife, then he lost the piece.
It's true. It's been a hard life. I will say, I kind of wanted him because part of one of my themes in the book is that like life is not perfect. It's okay. It's okay not to finish this puzzle. I am proud of you for not finishing those puzzles. That like you have 6 unfinished puzzles. I think that's fine. So I was like, just leave. I wanted him to leave it. I wanted him to be like a monument to imperfection.
I like that.
But he didn't feel that way. Yeah, he didn't.
I have more questions, but first I want to tell you guys, it's time we stop flushing our forests. It's estimated that Americans flush over 10 million trees worth of toilet paper every year. And if you're using conventional toilet paper that comes wrapped in single-use plastic, odds are you're using tissue that is cutting down trees from North American old-growth forests. Real Paper is looking to change that and is available online on Amazon and now in most Targets nationwide. Real Paper uses fast-growing bamboo in their paper products instead of virgin tree fibers from our forests. Similar to the grass on your lawn, bamboo regenerates from the same root so they can harvest the same plant. This helps avoid problems like soil erosion, habitat loss, and most importantly, the massive release of stored carbon. So we use Real Paper toilet paper. They also have paper towels. It's great because it's strong, but it's also soft. So it's like the perfect level of strength for what you need it for, but then it's also comfortably soft. Real is now available in most Target stores nationwide, Target.com, and on the Target app. Target carries Real's convenient 12-pack box that is the perfect size to try out your new favorite tree-free paper. If you're looking for Real in a Target, it should be easy to spot. They'll be the only bamboo toilet paper and the only option that you'll find in 100% recyclable, plastic-free packaging. So let's stop flushing our forests and give Real's tree-free paper a try. 0 trees, 0 plastics, 0 compromise with Real.
That's nice.
Isn't it,
though? That seems like a nice product.
Yeah. So, AJ, these people at the puzzle convention, were they cool? Were they cool people?
Well, that very much depends on your definition of cool. I found them cool, because, I think they're funny and they are passionate about, what they do. But certainly, yes, there is a certain nerd factor to people who do puzzles. But listen, I am also, remember that whole nerd chic thing, like where every supermodel was like, I'm a nerd. Mm-hmm. So I think nerd has lost its negative connotation. So I'm fine with calling myself and puzzle people nerds.
And then also, is there a certain type of puzzle that you just can't get into?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say I'm not very good with I have terrible spatial reasoning. I get lost in New York City, which is a grid. So how's your sense of direction?
Oh, terrible. It is it's ridiculously terrible. People have tried to explain that like when you go somewhere, you got to do like bird's eye view in your mind, but I don't. I'm immersive. If someone is
Right.
directing me, I'm not paying attention. I'm just going turn by turn, and there's no map being forged in my brain.
Right. Yeah, that really is the secret. That's interesting. I've tried to do that. I'm getting better, but anyway, I'm not very good at the spatial puzzles. So this whole genre of puzzles. Rubik's Cube is the most famous, where it's like with your hands, and what I did find interesting was I never heard of this genre called Japanese puzzle boxes, but it's this crazy cult of people who will pay thousands, literally up to $50,000 for a little box the size of a shoebox. It's beautiful wood, and the puzzle is how do you open it? And there's nothing inside. You're not even going to get anything when you do open it, but it's the challenge of opening it. And sometimes you have to spin it. A lot of times you have to move slats in the puzzle in a certain way. So like up to 150 times. Some of them you have to freeze, like they're really tricky. But it was fascinating to see these people obsessed, including Darren Aronofsky. I interviewed the director of Pi and others, who had commissioned the craziest desk ever created. He got this puzzle maker to make a wooden desk, and it took the puzzle maker 4 years to make. And I interviewed him, and it was kind of like an Aronofsky movie. The guy went crazy. Like he said, he stopped talking to his friends. He gave up all his hobbies, and he was just upset. And the desk contains dozens of puzzles, and you have to you have to move things on the desk in order to open the drawer.
Oh, God.
So it's not the most practical. If you want to get a stapler out, it takes 5 hours. So it's not for practical reasons, but it's really quite a piece of art. Yeah.
Do you consider escape rooms are puzzles, right? Where do they rate?
Yeah.
Do you like those?
No, well, they contain puzzles, and I have a section on them. Here, I'll give you my 2 favorite escape room facts. One is that I interviewed tons of escape room owners, and it turns out many of them have this one customer, a guy, who comes in every week with a new woman and pretends that it's his first time at the escape room. And he's like, I guess his theory is well, she'll see how good I am at Morse code, and she'll want to have sex with me. And I guess, it must work enough times for it to be this common. That's not a good use of puzzle. The second fact I like about escape rooms is, apparently a very popular demographic for escape rooms is nudists.
Whoa.
Yeah. Because you think about it, they can't go bowling. They want to do a group activity. You can't go to the movies.
Right.
But an escape room, you get in there, you ask permission, and the escape room guy's all right. And then they get in, they take off their clothes, they do their escape room thing, and then they put on their clothes and leave. But it's something that they can do without getting in trouble. So that I thought was a nice fact and a nice demographic. Have you ever done an escape room, either of you?
Yes, but I did it with my clothes on.
That's no fun.
My friend Wendy, who has been on the show a number of times, so listeners will know who that is. She loves escape rooms. Although I don't know if it's probably been a while since she's done them, but years ago she was into them. So I went to a couple different ones with her. Fun. They were new. I feel like you get, the more you do, the more you sort of, begin to understand the thinking behind the different puzzles and probably get faster. I was still sort of I felt like I was trying to get up to speed on what are we doing here? How does this all work?
Right.
I know.
Do you remember the theme? Do you remember what the theme was?
One, I know it started out and we were in a prison cell.
That's a classic. Yeah. Sure.
And the other one was something like a haunted something or other.
All right. Yeah. I enjoy them. I did feel for the people who put them on, because they were telling me how hard it is, because sometimes there are sockets in the room and people will think, oh, this is a puzzle, and stick their fingers in the socket.
Yeah.
There's liability problems.
Right.
But overall, I think they're fun. They are, what I like about them is you doing them together. That is another one of my themes, is that puzzles bring people together.
Right.
That like you can, it's a nice team activity. And actually, I heard the inventor of Wordle speak at a crossword convention, and he told a very touching story that like maybe someone needs to option it or something, about how this man, a gay man, was ostracized by his family, but he told the Wordle inventor it was Wordle that brought them back together. Like they can all agree on Wordle, and they were, once again a family. So that's
so
nice.
Sweet.
Yeah. See?
I feel like he didn't get enough money for Wordle.
Oh, he's an artist though. He did it for the pure joy of it. But I think he got like I thought it was a 6-figure. So he got something. He's okay.
I think it was even $1 million, but I still feel like that's not enough.
Well, that's true. For the amount of
the entire world.
Right. The entire world.
I mean, maybe not, but it seems like it.
And you? No? Yes?
Wordle?
Yes to Wordle? Mm-hmm.
I was into it at the beginning, and then I'm not into it anymore, except that recently someone was like, do you still do Wordle? And I said no. And she's like, I can't get today's. And then I was like, aha, I'll see if I can do it. And that brought me back in for one day. But I'm surprised. I feel like everyone else, including Tony, right, still does it.
Yeah, I love it. I actually almost posted earlier today that I almost kind of this is I'm just going to say it. This is a brag. That I kind of wish I wasn't as good at it as I am, because I feel like I usually get them pretty quick.
Interesting.
And,
like
a burden.
3 or
yeah, I got today's in 2. So.
Oh wow,
2,
Tony!
Wow.
I get 2.
Yeah,
I get it in 2 a lot.
Do you have a word you always start with?
Yeah.
Which is? What is
Do I really want my secret out there?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I start with those.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I feel like, taking that Wheel of Fortune mentality of like, these are those, a lot of these are those letters that they give you automatically. So,
well, I don't feel good about my first word. I got it because I read an article about an artificial intelligence that analyzed it and figured out the ideal first word. But it's a terrible word. It's soar, SOARE, which is a young hawk. It's a young hawk.
Oh.
And it's not pretty, and I just don't feel good about it, but I'm kind of addicted to it because I'm like, it does seem to work.
yeah, that's another.
Well, it's pretty similar to those.
Yeah, exactly.
And mine was moist for a little while. And then Greg Fitzsimmons was like, his is naive because it's got more vowels in it. But
Wait, did you do moist just because it's like a famously gross word?
I think so, yeah. And then I mentioned on the show that I was doing moist for a little while. And then the next day moist was the word. And I was like, this is insane.
No.
Yeah.
You have power. Wow.
Yes. Do you have a just me or everyone?
Oh, yeah, I do. I thought about these.
All
I'm
right.
excited.
Okay.
I'm very excited. Okay.
We have a song.
Is it just me or everyone?
All right.
All right. So I came up with 5. So I'm just going to do 4, like really quickly, just list them. And then the last one, I think I'd like to hear your thoughts on.
Okay.
Like there's pee in the sink. I pee in the sink all the time because I feel it saves water and it's easier. You don't have to lift the lid. I watch movies on double speed. I don't know if other people do that. I'll email myself a reminder and then get excited when I get an email because I forgot.
I do that.
It's me. That's a nice one. I'm like, oh, I'm popular. Oh, it's me. All right. So that, the one that I am interested in your feedback was, every romantic comedy I see, or romance in general, I always think, what are the chances these people will be together in 5 years? Like what, or 10 years? Like, The Graduate is one that just always comes, I'm like, they are lasting like 3 months tops. And Pretty Woman, forget it.
Yeah.
Forget it.
I think I'm pretty cynical in that way too. I don't know that I always do it with fictional couples.
Oh, interesting.
I'm trying to think if I do. That's pretty sad. But sometimes with real life, not all real life couples, but there are definitely real life couples where I'm like, I don't know about this one.
How are my wife and I holding up?
You guys are great. Because I mean, hello, scavenger hunts, puzzle guy. It all makes sense.
Very good. Thank you. Yes, my wife has a great scavenger hunt company, Watson Adventures. So yes, that was my one.
Thank you.
But
do you happen to, is there anyone you'd like to tell off?
Yes, I do have one of those too.
Okay.
Yeah, well, actually, this is interesting. I thought about this because another one of the themes of the book is that I'm trying to lower my anger. So I say, treat the world like a puzzle instead of a war. Like, so get curious, not furious. Mm-hmm. So, hey, go fuck yourself. It's more like, please go re-examine your priorities, you motherfucker. That kind of thing. So that would be my go fuck yourself or re-examine is, well, I do get very upset, going back to movies, that Hollywood seems to celebrate truly awful and cruel behavior by their characters as something romantic. And because every time I see, like we watched Titanic a couple of weeks ago with my kids. And if you haven't seen it, turn down the volume for 30 seconds. But I would think you've seen it. So at the end, Rose takes the diamond necklace and chucks it into the water. What the fuck? I looked it up, and the estimates from diamond experts is that's a $200 million diamond. So she could have sold that diamond and saved thousands, literally thousands of lives. Tens of thousands of kids in Guatemala are blind because this selfish bitch decided that she wanted to do this romantic gesture. And it's like supposed to be great. Like you're supposed to be like, oh, that's wonderful. And, so that's just one example, but it happens in, I would say half movies like, The Atom Project. We just watched that. And, this is not really a spoiler, but he saves his wife even though it's threatening the entire universe. He decides oh, she's my wife. I love her. I'm going to try to save her. And that's in in 10 Rings, that was another Marvel movie where he's like, oh, I'm going to risk the entire fate of humanity and all of the universe because I'm going to save my sister. And this is supposed to be noble. But no, fuck you. You are risking my life, my kids' lives, billions of future people because you can't let go of your sister, who I'm sure you love. Sure, she's great. But it's like, have a little perspective. And this is not something to be rewarded. Anyway, that's my thought on who should go fuck themselves.
So then say, hey, Hollywood.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Hollywood, go fuck yourself. Have some morality that's a little more rational instead of rewarding these people who are being cruel. They're being cruel and selfish.
Yeah, Hollywood.
Hey, go fuck yourself.
I remember that scene because she makes this when she throws the diamond in the water, she goes, eep.
Oh, yeah, that was weird.
Eeps. Yes, I remember that same, you didn't have to throw it. It's like with Elon Musk, okay, Mr. Bazillions of dollars. There's better uses of your money.
That is true. I would think that's true. Oh, wait, before we go, can I just say one other thing about my book? Because I'm very excited. And I feel I can boast about it because I didn't really do it. And that is, I hid a secret code in the introduction to the book. And if you put that code into the website, which is thepuzzlerbook.com, you will on May 3rd, but you can get it after, enter into a crazy, what's called a puzzle hunt, which is dozens of these wild puzzles that are like mind benders and crosswords on steroids And if you finish all of those, the first one to finish those wins $10,000 actual dollars.
Wow.
So it's a contest. No purchase necessary. The introduction is available for free. I want my lawyers to hear me say that in America. But I love it because I didn't write the puzzles. I teamed up with these 5 brilliant puzzle makers who are just like, their minds are so warped and twisted. They're like Darren Aronofsky. And so I want everyone to enjoy those puzzles because they are like mind bending. They're great. So thepuzzlerbook.com, go to that and then you can have access to.
So wait, so I have the advanced uncorrected proof copy of the book. You're saying there's a code hidden in the introduction or in the introduction? Like, is the code hidden?
It is hidden.
So you have to find the code somewhere in the introduction, which is the first puzzle, really, if you think about finding the code.
That's the first. But on the puzzlerbook.com website are all these hints. Actually the contest. You click on the contest website and there's a paragraph of hints.
I should go to the website.
Do that. And also don't use that version. I purposely kept it out of that version.
Oh, so then no wonder I can't find it.
Yeah, exactly.
You kept it out of this version so people didn't have
I didn't want to have a head start. Even for you, whom I love.
I know, I feel
happy to,
slighted.
I'm sorry.
Whatever.
But it is for free on the website. You don't have to do it. So check that out if you're interested.
I'll be okay. I was so taken aback by the fact that you kept the code out of the introduction for me personally. AJ, it was so nice to have you back on the show. So tell everyone where they can find you. Everyone knows they need to go get The Puzzler, which they can get it wherever books are sold. What is the official date the book comes out?
It came out we don't know when this is airing.
It's airing Monday.
It came out last week.
Okay, so it's freshly out.
So new.
Okay, great. Go get this book. Go get all of your other books too. Anything else you want to mention? Your social media, website, blah, 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 all that.
The usual. AJ Jacobs at Twitter and my website. But I just want to say I love being on this show. And I wish I were there in person. I remember... Didn't we do one like in a hotel room?
Yes. The first time we were in a studio. The second time it was like you were staying at a hotel in Beverly Hills, I think.
Yeah. I wasn't paying for it, but it was
the Four
nice
Seasons.
and fancy.
It was very, very fancy. Yeah.
I think it was like, Entertainment Weekly or Esquire is paying. So
yes.
that was fun. Yeah.
That was fun.
That
came
seemed
and
very glamorous.
I had just had a baby. And I remember I was like, you were saying if someone gave you the option of like, you could, either your baby dies or 10 strangers die, everyone would choose to kill the strangers. And I was saying something like, I was so fresh to having a baby that I was saying something about like, I keep imagining all these, I also had postpartum depression. I keep imagining all these scenarios where someone comes in as like your baby or your dog. And you were like, you would have trouble choosing between that? And I'm like, well.
You know what? I didn't have a dog at the time. Now I understand. And
I was like, no, I'm trying to come up with a way that I could like save all of them. But I mean, now many years later, it's like, obviously, I mean, it's a horrible scenario that I was torturing myself with. But like, obviously, you choose your children. But no one is going to make you choose this anyway, but still. But
in case your children are listening in the future.
Yes.
Your mom
I know
does prefer you over a dog.
Yeah. Whereas my dog only listens to Mark Maron. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I loved it.
Listeners, if you like what you're hearing, please make sure you subscribe, leave us a nice comment on Apple Podcasts or a mean one. But I prefer the nice ones. I'm on Patreon, patreon.com/Alison Rosen, where you go for all that stuff. You subscribe for a year, you get 2 months free.
That's a good deal.
And listen to my other podcasts, Upworthy Weekly and Childish. And I have a newsletter that's free, AlisonRosen.substack.com. Tony, what about you?
Twitter and Instagram at
Tony Thaxton.
and my show Bizarre Albums every Tuesday. And yeah, we're getting close to Motion City Soundtrack tour time, about a month away. So yeah, be everywhere in the U.S. and a couple of UK shows also. So get those tickets if you don't have them yet.
Do it. All right. Thank you again, AJ. Listeners, thank you for listening. I love you. You matter. Goodbye.
Hey, do you know about the Alison Rosen show? We had a good time, but now we gotta go. Yeah, Alison Rosen.